Giraldo. All right, we got, do all these work? You guys want to?
Hi there. Oh,
We're wired up here.
So while you guys were waiting in line, they were driving around the convention center in a big black truck, just kind of waiting to come in and talk to you. So it's been an interesting hour. So.
yes, it has. But we're happy to be here.
Yeah.
And we're happy you got here. Wasn't it hard to get here as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I think the best way to start is kind of how you guys met, because it's such a great story. I don't know, I bet everybody here doesn't know it. So tell us about the first day you met, where you were at in your lives, and what happened.
I'm gonna let you do this because you always yell at me when I tell the
I
story.
never yell. I never yell
Mine's
because
better.
you're always right.
This is
I
why I'm
never
not
yell.
between them.
You should have been in the middle, actually.
My story is definitely better, but go ahead.
No, my story's the truth, though. Yeah. They're all true. They're all true. In 1978, Patricia got signed to a record deal with Crystal Records in November of 1978. In 1978, I was playing with the Rick Derringer Band, and I was with them from, I think, February or January of 1978. And then 1979 came around. I was still with the Rick Derringer Band. We just finished a record in Woodstock, New York called Guitars and Women, ironically called Guitars and Women. You get the idea of that? And I was up there. Patricia made an attempt to make a record with some session musicians and a producer, and it didn't go so well. And the record company heard that. She wasn't happy with it, so they scrapped that. There was about 5 songs that they did. It really wasn't right. They didn't have the soul of what she was wanting, because, like the Hendrix song, Manic Depression, I know what I want, but I just don't know how to go about getting it. That's really where Patricia was at. She knew exactly what she wanted, but the people that were involved weren't the right people. That happens sometimes. So in February, no, it was in May now. I just finished the record. I was leaving Woodstock, New York. I had a car. I walked out of the studio. The person on the phone says, at the studio says, you know, you got a call here. Somebody's saying they want you to meet a singer that just got signed to a record deal. Would you be interested in meeting this person? I said, well, I'm on my way home to Cleveland because I had some time off. And I don't know, what about if it doesn't work out? Can I get a free ticket back to Cleveland? They says, yeah, we'll take care of it, but I think it's going to work out. So they didn't tell me it was a girl. They says a singer. And I says, maybe I heard of him, you know, going around town in New York. They said, it's not a guy, it's a girl. I went, oh, shit. And then I said, is she good looking? And they said, yeah, but she's married. I go, oh, that's too bad. Anyway, but that's just me being a goofy guitar player. So anyway, I drove down from Woodstock to New York City to SIR. We met each other. It was an instant attraction, immediately, physically, and also musically. That's important. But here's the deal. The real deal of this, which I like to tell people, is everybody needs their muse. And we were fortunate enough that when we met, we became each other's muse. There was a different sound that happened. When Patricia told me what she wanted to do, and she wanted to be in a rock and roll band, I says, why would you want to do something to hurt that beautiful voice? That's such a beautiful voice. Why would you want to do anything to rough it up? But she had an idea, and she had a plan. She had no band. The record company, as soon as we met, gave me the keys to the car and said, Spider, anything you want to do, you put the band together, the band is yours. I'll listen to anything you got to say. So at that moment, I became the driver of the car, and we were in charge. And from that day, 37 years later, we're still doing the same thing.
My story. So I make this record. I'm signed. I've been, working for 5 years. I'm, just battling like hell to get there. And everybody's telling me maybe I should sing like a lady named John because she did really well. And I'm like, not so much. Something I don't think about. And it was really difficult, but I wasn't going to give up, and I just kept going and going. So we finally I get signed to Crystals. I get signed to a record company. We make this terrible record with really good songs, but it's terrible. It's very controlled, and it's not anything like I wanted it to be. And I'm thinking to myself, oh God, I've got a shot. I've got my shot, and it's over already. I've got one shot. This is it. We started, and it sucks, and what am I going to do? And so I meet with Mike Chapman. Mike Chapman and Peter Coleman are brought in because we're going to try it one more time. And at that moment, they're doing Blondie and they're doing Knack and everything. And he doesn't have time to do the whole record, so he's only going to do a couple of songs, and Peter's going to do the rest of it. But Mike says to me, tell me what it is you're trying to do. And I tell him that I'm trying to make a record where I'm not the focal point. I'm not this girl singer standing up front. I'm trying to get a partnership happening like Robert Plant and Jimmy Page and Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. I want a partner. I want it to be a rock band. I don't want it to be, some girl singer standing up there with faceless players. And he says to me, I got your guy. He goes, he's 22 years old. He's playing with Derringer right now. And maybe you guys should meet. I think this is the right guy. He's an arranger. He's a guitar player. He's a songwriter. And I'm like, all right, fine, send him down. So I'm pretty cocky at this point. I'm turning 26 years old. I got a record deal. I'm thinking I'm all that, And I'm waiting for the guy to come down, the big rock god to come down. So we're at SIR Studios in New York. And I'm standing my back to the door, and they tell me, Neil Giraldo's here. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm just like, I'll be with him in a second. This thing. And we're auditioning other players, not him. He's coming to meet me. We're, to talk over if we're going to put this band together or whatever. But other players are coming down to audition. So he doesn't even bring a guitar with him. Nothing. He comes and I can't even believe it. And I hear him. I don't see him yet because I'm talking to these other people, but I can hear him saying, hey man, can I borrow your apps? I'm thinking, oh my God, what an asshole. He doesn't even bring a guitar? Like, what the hell? And I turn around and I see him. And you have to understand, this was like, he's 22 years old, and I was like, that was it. And this is before he played a note, so I was pretty much like on board already. And then of course he played, and it was exactly what I was talking about. It was this raucous guitar playing, and all I kept thinking was this against the clean vocals. This combo was what I was talking about, and that was it. So
yeah, an important thing too as well is that beautiful voice, which I heard. It was a very school beautiful voice. My world came from the renegade in the streets of Cleveland, right on the urban side of Cleveland, and it was a very tough time growing up. She grew up in this beautiful area and pristine, beautiful voice, and when I heard her sing and we played together, she was still hitting high notes in falsetto. And I was saying, you got this beautiful voice, but you can't do them in falsetto. And then I started raising keys, and the more I raised them, the more she got angry with me.
tortured me.
But as the keys went up, so did the sound change. And it was a bitch for a guitar player, because you want to play in the key of E. Any guitar players out there know, you want to be in E, A, and those things. No, I got to be in A flat. A flat, no, my God, it was a mess. But anyway, it worked out really well. God, I mean, that.
So you guys have been, performing for people, and people have been listening to your music for 40 years or more almost. And there are some myths about you guys. You want to dispel some myths?
Yeah, tell me what they are and I'll help you.
Well, one myth that we mentioned last night was that you went to Juilliard. Do you think?
No, I actually never physically went. I was in high school and I was studying for, I said I'd been studying for 8 years in preparation to go. And my boyfriend at the time was the last number called for the draft, and I panicked and married him and didn't go. So I stopped everything, and I was going to be a school teacher. Imagine that. And so there was a couple of years of a break there, but I never actually went, and everyone was really upset. They had been working and working. We had been working to go, and I didn't go.
Yeah, and I never made it past the 10th grade. See how that works? Well, I did. No, I did 10th grade. I made it through 10. But the really good part about it, are there any students out here, or any young people like that? So you are a student? Okay, here's what happened, which is very, very cool. I was in 10th grade and I started my 11th year of school. And this guidance counselor said, you're a distraction here. We know you're a musician. We know that you like girls. We know all this stuff about you. You don't belong here. What about if I gave you the credits to graduate, but don't come back? True story. You know what he said? He said, you have a different mission in your life, and I know that. And I'm going to help you by letting you go. And he did. And thank God that worked for me. And then, because I didn't go to school, I never really read or did schoolwork. But after I left school, I decided that I would read every classic that was written. Victor Hugo, Tennessee Williams, go on, William Faulkner, on and on and on and on. And I educated myself through reading and through books. And I did it with music too. I did it with piano, I did it with drums. I played swing drums, I played jazz piano. I did it studying myself because I loved it so much. You have the beauty of one of the best God-given voices in all the world with Patricia. She's got the best voice I've ever heard.
This is why we're married this long.
And I'm telling you, I lead it a different way. It's so good that everything I've ever tried to do with her, every kind of style of music, whatever it is, she fought me on it, but then as soon as she did it, it all of a sudden became like she owned it. And I knew that. And that's why the relationship together is so important and works so well, is because my mission is to make the best that she could be, and we're going to make great music for all time, we hope, until the last day we take our last breath.
My mission is to reel him in because he is so insane. He's like a mad scientist, and people really don't, you know, I always say that my job is to reel him in so that humans can understand what he's talking about. And that's the truth, and it works. It's great. He can't believe he's married to somebody who still listens to South Pacific in the car. You know, he just can't believe it, but it works. You know, it's just that yin yang thing, and it works. And he pushes me. I always say being married to him is like riding a roller coaster. It gives you the illusion of danger, which is what I like. The illusion of danger, but you're strapped in. He'll jump out of the plane without the chute. So this is what's great for me because I'm kind of, you know, like. I'm just going to be cool and, you know, in the middle, and he is so far to the left, and it works out perfectly.
Tell us a bit about what it was like. I mean, you guys were solid, but the music industry is around you, trying to get you to do things maybe that go against what you want to do. What was it like being a rock band with a woman in the front? I mean, what was it like for you?
As far as creating music and making records, it was very difficult. Because as soon as we had something that the record company thought was selling, and after that record was done, I would come in and say, I have this idea for a different kind of record. They'd say, why don't you just do the same thing you did before it worked? And I says, I'm not going to do it because I always patterned anything I did 9 months ahead, like a pregnancy. If you were going to, notice, I'm not going to be pregnant, you see the point of 9 months. But anyway, if you do something that you think is relevant right now, by the time it comes, it gets released, it's already going to be too old. So the battles I had with the record company were all the time. Because I come in with a song like Love is a Battlefield, they said, it's horrible, we're not releasing it, it's too fast, what is this rhythm, it's crazy, it makes no sense. I say, well, you know what, I'm not changing it, I believe in it. It worked. We Belong. I came in with this crazy little keyboard pattern. I decided I was going to take a folk song and turn it into sort of a different kind of rhythmic progression, which I thought really propelled the song. I thought that would work. They hated it. They wanted me to remix it. I tried remixing it. They still hated it. I said, you'll release it. They did. It worked. That part, the creativity thing, was always a battle. And it wasn't like I wanted to make enemies with the record company, because I didn't. I like opinions. I wanted to hear what they had to say, because I'm only interested in making the best thing I could possibly do. But if you're not arrogant and you're confident about what you want to do, nobody should stand in your way. And I didn't let anybody stand in their way. And there's another thing, I would fight to the death for Patricia. From day one, if there was anything sexist on any level, I would fight and say, either you stop that, I'm going to throw you out of the room. And I'm a little guy. I'm a little guy. And my sister cursed me when I was born, because I was the only boy baby, all girls in the maternity. And she said, you know, you'd be surrounded by women your whole life. I have 2 daughters, housekeeper. My dogs are females. So I'm constantly fighting for the rights of women, because I believe, you know, you got to do it. You know, they're mine, so I'm going to protect them.
There was no issue inside our camp either. I mean, it was, you know, it never, I don't think it ever occurred to us that there was any differences between myself and them. This was about work ethic and about talent and how, you know, how much you were willing to do. And so it never occurred to us inside our group that there was any differences. All of the problems came from the outside. They came from the media, it came from, you know, program directors at radio stations. It came from the record company itself, because the record company decided that at first they were absolutely, they had no idea what to do with me. They didn't know what to do with me. They were like, well, how do we market this? What do we do? And then when they figured out that they could make money then they figured out how to market it. But of course, by that time, it was already old to me. I was done, and it was very limiting, very limiting. It was my idea, but you know, the great thing about it being your idea is when it's not your idea anymore, you're supposed to be able to dump it. But you know, they wanted to keep it because it was selling, it was doing great, and it was so limiting. I had, you know, it was fun when it first started because it felt really powerful, and you know, I wasn't the girl in school. You know, I grew up with all Italian girls, and you know, they've got, you know, like incredible hair and eyelashes, and I was this scrawny little Irish girl from New York, you know, so I didn't look like them, and they were, you know, goddesses, and that wasn't what I was about. I mean, I was about education, and I was about honing my craft, because that's what I had. Those were my attributes as far as I was concerned. So when I discovered this crazy, you know, look and thing that I invented, and found out that this worked, it was great, but it was always like wearing a cloak. It wasn't exactly who I was, you know. So it always, because I was in theater all the time, it was just a character, and part of it was me, of course. Obviously, you can't fabricate that forever without it being part of you. I was a little scrapper, you know. I grew up with all boys in my neighborhood. I had to fight all the time to be, you know, to be able to play softball because I was the littlest one. So I was used to being a scrapper. So that part was there, and I was very militant. I was ready to go at any time with anyone, no matter who they were, how much smarter they were, how much more experienced they were, how much bigger they were. I didn't care because I was so used to having to fight for position. So having this persona was just a way to get into the door so that I could actually do what I was going to do. But it, you know, it bit me in the ass in the end. You know, that's what happened. It became so limiting, and I wanted to get rid of it right away, but they were not going to let it go. So everyone on the outside, every day, I used to call it the gauntlet, because doing this every day, in the beginning, Spider didn't accompany me to radio stations. I would have to go myself with our manager, and you know, they would talk to me before I went. They said, "Don't give the guy the finger when you go in. Don't swear at the guy. Don't be mean to the guy. Don't do this, don't do that." And I was like, if he's going to be a jerk, I'm not going to sit there and take it. I'm not. And of course he was a jerk. You'd get in there and he'd say, "Well, you know, we've already got one girl, you know, on the charts at the station, and if you sit down, maybe we could talk about getting that record played." And I'd go, "Fuck you," and I'd walk out. That would be it. So this was, you know, this became a great source of entertainment for me. And all it did is make me crazier and crazier. So we never had a problem inside, because, you know, they thought it was great. Like, all right, go ahead, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. And we did it every day. And then I wanted it to be experienced on the merit that it was. This was a band. This was a band that wrote really great songs. This was, you know, we had musicianship, we had singing, we had all of these, you know, really wonderful talents that had nothing to do with all of this, you know, accoutrements that were on the outside. And so that's what we fought for all the time. And they were right with me, like brothers. Not him, but he wasn't like my brother. But I mean, but we were all together, you know, as a group, and we went in there and always fighting.
Yeah, one part to add to that is that when we met, and I realized that the guy was actually a girl singer, my whole life I dreamed of finding a great singer and starting a rock and roll band. That was my dream from day one when I first picked up a guitar. And I gotta tell you, when I found out it was a girl, it didn't matter to me at all. I never thought for 1 second on that stage anything that had to do like it's a girl singer. I just looked at her as the singer in the band. And that's honest to God truth. And it never, and when it got weird sometimes like that, I thought, why are you doing that? She's the singer.
Yeah,
she's a great singer.
It was a mutual respect thing. I'm sorry, I have OCD, I have to straighten this. There we go. Okay, yeah, it was a mutual respect thing, and it never even occurred to us. And every time they would do it, we would just be incredulous and looking at them like, what is your problem?
Even the president of the record company said one time in the studio, "Do you actually think they're coming to hear you sing?"
That's what they said.
That's what they said. The record company president.
I smacked him.
So we said, "You're over there. Get out."
Yeah.
Do you think has things changed at all? You know, do you think things are better, or when you talk to other performers?
Yes, I do. I think it's changed, but not entirely. But of course, I mean, are you kidding? I mean, maybe to everyone sitting in this room, it is not that changed, but I have to tell you, trust me, I was there. It's definitely changed. At least you have laws, you have recourse now. If someone behaves in this way, they can't. I mean, they can try, but they can't. There was no recourse then. This was all up to you. You had to figure it out. You had to go in there and you had to, either put up or shut up, and that wasn't going to happen. And every day, I mean, I'm a little girl. I mean, but I am very fierce, always was, and I would go in there every day and demand respect from these people, demand it, because that's part of the deal. The deal is you have to give it and you have to demand it in return. That's how you get things done, and that's how people stay on an equal playing level, and that's what has to be done every day. And whether you're female or male, it doesn't matter. You can't let people abuse you in any way, not intellectually, not emotionally, not physically, not in any way, not artistically. That's the job that you have. It's part of your responsibility.
I'll tell you a big change that happened too, from when we started in '79, where we had to battle because of the female thing going on. In 1980, let's say, what would it be, 85 or 86? If you didn't have a girl in your band, you wouldn't get a record deal.
No, you wouldn't.
There was no deals. Before that, if you had a girl, they wouldn't even sign you. 1985, 86, do you have a girl in the band? Okay, we'll sign. Take a look at it. If you look at it, you'll see what it is. And so that's, being able to use a bulldozer to get it to that part is great, because listen, it doesn't matter if you're a female or a male. If you're a great artist and a great singer, a great player, a great writer, you should be heard and not judged on that. That's ridiculous. That makes no sense to me. Never did.
And we have 2 daughters. Our youngest one is a musician. She's a singer-songwriter. And, they kind of look at us like, I'll say things like, why are you listening to this lyrics, and why do you buy this person's music? It's so misogynistic. And they're always like, oh God, Mom, you're so militant, because because the path is there. The path is there. We didn't have a path. We made the path. There was no path, but now the path is there. But that's not enough. It's still not enough. You have to forge it every single day. You have to protect it. We worked really hard to get it. So it's your job to carry it forward. You must protect it every day. That's what you have to do. I mean, we handed it to you. There were battles and there were scars, and it was not fun always, but it was exhilarating and it was amazing. So that's the job that you have, is to take it further and to stand there every day as a beacon for the equality and respect that you deserve.
So let's go back to the chronology of the band. You've become the second group to be on MTV. How did that change your career?
That was, first of all, we were the second video played on MTV, the first female singer on MTV, the first guitar player on MTV. Now, I didn't think about it, nor did it didn't matter to me until 10 years ago or something, when somebody said, you realize you're the first guitar player on MTV? I had no idea. I had no idea. Wasn't paying attention. A lot of times when you're doing something that if somebody thinks it's historic when you're doing it, it's not really an historic event. It's only later when it becomes a historic event. But when somebody says, this is a good thing too, the model, if you remember the model list, which is fabulous. We got a cable channel, we're going to play music 24 hours a day without commercials. Without commercials, all day long. So that means our video is going to be played about 12 to 14, 18, 20 times a day. Okay? There's the model. Free. But now what nobody realized is because it was the brilliant Silicon Valley, was a brilliant, brilliant model. That's what really started, in my mind, started software selling. Because here you go, you get something that you love, you got music everywhere, and then we're going to start adding commercials. And then you're going to love it, and then you're going to buy it. And that's how it worked. Normally, we could be able to go to the market, more especially for Patricia and 70, but be able to go out there, nobody would pay attention to you, but as soon as they showed those videos, your face was everywhere, you couldn't go anywhere any longer.
You have to understand that in the first day, it was in August of 1981, we were in Oklahoma playing this huge festival called Rocklahoma, and we were in this little crappy motel because, we didn't have any money, so we're in this dumpy place. But they had cable, and this is probably like one of the 5 places in America that day that had MTV. So we were sitting on the edge of those awful beds that you put the quarter in, it was nasty. And we're sitting on the edge of it in shock because we can't believe that this video that we shot in New York like 3 weeks earlier is on this TV station. And they only had 5. They only had 5, so they're going to play this thing round the clock. By the time a week had passed, we couldn't go outside. Because at that time, you had to try and remember what the world was like when the earth was cooling, I know. But the only time anyone ever saw you was in live performance, or on Don Kirshner's rock concert, or on Midnight Special, because it was taboo to do any of the like TV late night shows or anything. If you were a rock and roll musician, you didn't do that. You know, that was for, you know, Andy Williams and things like that.
And you had to read the paper to find the review out. You had to wait till the next day
I mean,
what the review was.
There was none of this, you know,
instant
you know, information like this. So people didn't really get to see you unless they came to your concerts. And we would do tours for 14 months at a time, but you would only be in that town. The world was a small place at that point, but in 1 week, everything changed. Everything.
For the good, though.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was,
right?
Well, yes, I mean, it was great, but your anonymity was gone. I mean, that was an adjustment.
You can make a huge mistake. Like, I can't remember his name, but I don't even want to mention it, but that poor guy's such a nice guy, but he made a mistake because he made a horrible video and it wrecked his career. So you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. And we decided, after we did a Shadows of the Night video, we decided no more historical costumes.
Oh yeah.
That was the end of that.
That was it.
We're the Americans, the rhythm sections of Germans. We're not doing that. We weren't playing in Germany. I spent so much time and worked so hard making these records, and they turned them into these crazy. I hated a 4-minute. Oh, it used to make me insane. I'd have to go, oh no, I don't want to do this. It was terrible.
I would love to have been a fly on the wall for this discussion. You know, you're going to be wearing
God, poor Myron Grumbacher, our drummer, was just beside himself.
Let me give you a little history. If you know the Crimes of Passion record, you know that record, the Crimes of Passion? Mm-hmm. We call that Crimes of Fashion.
That's what we call it.
So if you take the cover, you know what the cover looked like. I don't know what ballet had anything to do with that music on that record, but anyway, and you flip it around, you'll see the band on the back of the record. That's the band.
Everyone's disgusted.
You'll see 2 people sitting in the front row. It's my drummer Tyrone, Myron Grumbacher, and myself. We are in the front row. Look at our faces, and you know why our faces look the way we do. Because the record company took us out shopping to buy clothes that we had to wear for the record. We couldn't even wear our own clothes.
I know, it didn't happen anymore.
If you were going to be on the record, you had to wear what we went out and bought you. And we're like, so next time you see that record, think about Crimes of Fashion on that. So that's another one.
Well, you guys have lots of great stories, and there's some good stories behind some of your songs. So let's talk about a few songs. And the first album, an important song on that album was We Live for Love. Tell me a bit about why that's an important song for you guys.
Well, We Live for was the first song that I wrote for us, and was the first of about 100 that I wrote that we have published inside our world and other things that I did outside as well. But it was the first song that I wrote for us because I thought it represented, she'll have another story and you're going to laugh a lot harder than she's saying I'm lying. I wrote it about her, but she's going to say I didn't. But basically it was this. The record was almost complete. We needed one more song. So I said, I have this song I'm working on. It's kind of a little pop song. I think it's kind of fun, and it's called We Live for Love, and let's hear it. So I played it, and yeah, it's good, let's do it. Everybody seemed to like it, and it was actually the second single. Heartbreaker was first, and we actually tried I Need a Lover. We tried If You Think You Know How to Love Me. We tried quite a few songs, and none of them made it, and they were thinking about losing the record after all the time we spent in it. Luckily, disco was closing its end of its life, and even though the radio station said there was too much guitar on the record, that's why Heartbreaker would never be a hit. But there was a radio station in Seattle that had a different idea about it. They started playing it, and then people started liking it. And then we went from Seattle all the way through the country, and it worked. So that's how that happened. But We Live for Love, she's going to tell you. She's going to say it's not about her. But that was the first song of soon many to be after that. It was for you, especially for you. You know that.
It was, I hate this stupid thing. It was, I should be able to project without this. But yeah, it was the first song that he wrote for the record. So that began the whole, up to that point, everything were either cover songs or songs written by other songwriters that were written for us specifically. But that was the first time that we wrote, and it was for the first record. So it was a really good beginning because the song was wonderful. But it was not about me. He was still with his freaking old girlfriend, and he wrote that song about her. But that's all right, because by the time we recorded the song, she was gone.
Good.
That's not really true, but listen, you know what? Here's the deal. In our relationship, somebody's got to be passive, somebody's got to be assertive. In the studio, I'm the assertive one, the wife's the passive one. In the family life and at home, she's the assertive one, and I'm the passive one. And that's why it works so well. And we both respect each other so much equally that we both rely on each other for decisions that have to be made. And I like it that way. It works out well.
Well, I think fans of your music see that on stage, and I think they enjoy that as much as the music sometimes, I think. I mean, I know the record industry, we talked about this last night, they really don't always want to have a couple, or they want this icon that can be, people can think what they want about them, but you have real life with you guys, and I think that's one reason why so many people come to see you play.
Well, we have a different story to tell now than we did in the beginning. Like you said, I mean, the record company really didn't want anyone to know that we were a couple, because they wanted to give the perception of this solo person, this girl out front, accessible to everyone. But I can tell you this, the first day we hit that stage, we were already a couple. Nobody knew that, but we were already. That was a done deal. None of that stuff was going to change. So that's a different thing. But like the wife explains, which is kind of funny, in the beginning we battled with the record company where I couldn't really talk, I couldn't do interviews, I wasn't allowed to say that we were a couple, and I wasn't allowed to say that I wrote this song or did this or produced, it was sort of this quiet thing I had to live in. And then now, because we're so old, 38 years, 37 years later, she refers to us as those two people, the people we like that got old. When they got older, they got...
Oh, they won't even know this. I call it the George Byrne effect. George Byrne effect.
Gracie?
Yeah, Gracie and George Burns. Because
I got some old too.
everyone hated George Burns when he was young, and then because they didn't want him, upstaging her. And then as they got older, they loved him. So that's where I went. And 15 years ago, I decided, that's it. We're doing the George Byrne effect. Everyone's going to know what Spider did, and that's it. So I went on this mission about 15 years, maybe 18 years ago now, where everyone was going to know what his contribution was, that we started this as a duo, truthfully, from the beginning, right from the hat. So that there was a misconception. I was like, oh, seriously, like I did all that by myself, and in heels. What? I don't know. So yeah, and of course now you collaborate. That's what you do. It's a partnership, and on all levels. So it was really important to me that everyone finally understood how much, a part of everything Spider was. I did not start this alone. I started the initial thing by myself. I went to New York and started, trying to get a record deal alone. But from that moment on, when we met, from that moment on, everything from then on, we were a duo, right from the hat. It started immediately. So everything that you've ever heard on vinyl, on CD, on digital, on anything, every note that was ever played, we did together, always, from the beginning.
Awesome.
We like her a lot too. This ain't no little thing we make up.
He just wants to make food tomorrow. It's St.
I
Patrick's
love
Day.
St. Patrick. How many people are Irish? Oh man, I love the Irish. Oh, yeah,
So tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day. I make the big dinner.
If you weren't, I'd say you're
So
lying.
he knows he's got to say the right thing today, or he doesn't get corned beef tomorrow. That's it.
That's exactly right.
Another important song for you guys on the second album. It may be a crime of fashion on the album, but the good song, Hell's for Children. Talk about why you play that at every show.
Okay, this song was written in, can you hear me? You can.
This song was written in 1980, and it was we were after the first record. We were writing songs and doing everything. We lived in New York, and the New York Times did a serial article that came out a few weekends in a row about child abuse in America, and all of us had grown up basically in pretty normal households with two parents, loving people, good childhoods. Maybe everything wasn't perfect. I mean, we all came from working class families. We didn't have a lot of money, all that stuff, but we had very good upbringing and loving families. So when we read these articles in the paper, I mean, every one of us, it's that moment when you're in your early 20s or mid 20s. When the world comes into your life, when you're still walking around thinking that isn't everything great and it's all, and then the bad stuff comes into your face for the first time. So this was like one of those moments the age of, the loss of innocence for us. And it had such a profound effect on us that we instantly went to writing. So Roger Capps, who was our original bass player, and I started writing words immediately. We just were writing and writing and writing. We came up with lyrics, and then we gave them to Snider, and we said, I know this is like a crazy subject matter, and I don't know how we're going to make this into a song, but can you try? And he took it, and he did exactly. He followed the words. He made the guitar screaming and like mournful, and just, I mean, you can hear the pain in those notes, the anguish when he plays. And the song was born. And it was really interesting because the song from day one was about the horror of child abuse and the victims. And some right-wing religious groups got it into their heads that this was some kind of like, death metal song about hell being for children. And no one ever looked at the lyrics, no one ever listened to the words, they didn't pay attention, and they would picket concerts, which was astounding, which was really fun for us, because, I'm so, down the middle, and I was like, yes! It was like a controversial thing, and it was crazy, and I was really happy because it brought so much attention to the song, which is what we wanted, which we had hoped, because then the victims would have, it would give them a voice, and then perhaps people would start talking, it would be a dialogue. And so it actually worked in reverse, and it was beautiful. It brought so much attention to the song, and from that moment on, we began to get bags, and this is when people sent mail, they sent fan mail to you, we would get bags and bags, like, of these giant mail bags filled with letters from so many people.
Yeah, I don't think there's a day in a meet and greet when somebody doesn't come back and say that song changed their lives and they were a victim of child abuse. Yeah.
It became a huge thing for us. We started a foundation for abused children, and to fund, to change legislation and everything to protect the rights of children. And we play it every time. It's part of this thing we call the Holy 14. These are the 14 songs that everyone wants us to play all the time. But it's one of the Holy 14. And unless we're doing some corporate thing where everybody's supposed to be having a really fun time and this is just a little too dark for that sort of thing, we play it every time we play. We have never not played it live. Never. So it's a really important song for us. And I think, and mostly because of what it means to all the people that were victims of abuse.
Well, it's a great story. It's a sad topic, but it's nice that you could provide, that message to people that need somebody. A lot of times if they're in that position, they don't have anybody to listen to them. So,
it was amazing.
For anybody that has heard the song and likes the song, I've documented our whole life for the last 37 years in audio. I had the cassette player running, I had a DAT machine running when that came, I had an F1 machine running all the time during writing of the songs, arranging in the studio, all those things. We had the children in the background saying, Papa, Papa, what Lakers games are going on in the background, songs, dogs are barking, she's yelling, the wife's yelling at me, all kinds of stuff's going on. And I did a lot of work with those songs, and you can hear them on these audio things, but the original demo we did for that was 14 minutes long. So I don't know if anyone ever wants to hear something like that. I'll put it out there. It's on a 2-inch tape. I have to bake it to do it, but I haven't heard it in 36 years or so like that. But it was 14 minutes long. I had this idea of making it like Stairway to Heaven, which would start off slow, like we have it slow, and then we build it up. But I had to go through all these different emotional, atmospheric kind of moments. And if you ever want to hear something like that, you just got to get on those Facebook social stuff and yell at me and say you want to hear it, and I'll put it out there if you want. I think it'd be kind of good. I think.
Walter, your third album, you had a song that was, I think it was, you said it was the first time you guys wrote about your own lives. You wrote a song together about your own lives, Promises in the Dark. Talk about that.
Well, one of the
creepiest things, I hate these things. One of the creepiest things about, and the most awkward thing is when you're in a relationship and then you're going to write songs about your personal stuff. And then you're going to reveal that and put that out there. So that's, especially when you're young and you're in a new relationship, it's a little vulnerable to say that, and you have to take a great leap when you're willing to do that. And so when I started the lyrics for Promises in the Dark, I was kind of embarrassed. I didn't want him to, we hadn't been together that long.
Couple years.
It was just, but it wasn't long enough. And I was gonna now I was telling him all this stuff that I was so embarrassed that I didn't want him to read the lyrics when he saw me. So he was in the music room in our little house, and I slipped him under the door. So he could read them, and I wouldn't be in his face, and he wouldn't look at me when he did it. So he opens the door, and he's like, what is this? I love this, let's do this. And then he started writing the song. But that was the first song that we wrote together about our personal stuff. Usually we wrote about observational things, like everybody else's problems that we knew. You know, we'd write about their problems, or, you know, things we saw on TV or read in the newspapers, and we rarely wrote about our personal stuff. So that was the first one that we did together. So.
You mentioned you produced acts, and you produced a lot of acts like Rick Springfield, John Wade, Kenny Loggins. What got you into producing?
Okay, you know what? This is really funny. I just turned 60 in December of last year. And I'm telling you the honest to God truth. When I say this, you gotta believe me, it's the truth. That when I used to get records when I was younger, my Uncle Timmy, who was only 3 or 4 years older than me, ended up living with my family because his father, my grandpa, passed away. And he was sort of the mistake of that side of the family. You know, my grandmother says, you know, you get out of the house, you're a problem. So he would hang with me, and I was only 13 years old at the time. And he would give me a record for Christmas and a carton of cigarettes. I mean, I smoked when I was a kid. Really.
It was a different world.
Yeah, he'd sneak me into clubs. I was in bands when I was 13, and you know, I've been playing forever. But anyway, he would give me a record. And I'm going to give you an example of the White Album, the Beatles' White Album. Now, it took me 60 years to realize what this was about. And I remember now that when he gave me that record and I listened to it, I did not try to figure out one song on guitar or piano or drums. I listened to it deeply. The sounds, I was listening to the sounds, the arrangement, the parts, all the little things inside. When I heard Heartbreak Hotel on my parents' hi-fi stereo, Elvis Presley, I sat in front of that thing and I heard the richness of the voice and the deepness, and I heard the snare, I heard the bass thumping. I got more attention, it drew more attention to me, the sounds and the parts, the arrangements and the treatment, than it was me playing the part. So I didn't realize this, that every record he gave me, that's what I was doing. I wasn't learning the part. I was learning B.B. King and John Lee Hooker, Chuck Berry from these 45s they get at Woolworths that were 99 cents. I'm going to show my age on this. 99 cents, 45s, and I was playing these. I didn't even know who these people were. But those records, those pop records, I was dissecting. And I didn't even really realize it. So all along, even when we started, our drummer would always say, when we're playing, and I'd go, you know, next gig, could you not play that fill on a 20 bar here? Don't do that. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, why don't you just listen to yourself and not anybody else? I said, I can't. I listen to everybody else from day one in the studio. And Rick Derringer taught me a little bit too when we worked together. He was really strict and, you know, pay attention. But I was already paying attention. But he enforced that because that was the first professional record I did was with Rick Derringer in 77 or 78.
But it's interesting because, you know, for those of you that are musicians or that are going into production and things, you know, it's really important that you follow your path. And sometimes the path isn't exactly what everyone's telling you the path is, or what you even yourself think the path is. And when Spider and I, when we did the first record, it was fated because, like I said, Mike Chapman wasn't able to do the entire record, which wound up being the best thing that ever happened to us because Peter Coleman, who was his main engineer and brilliantly talented, was the greatest teacher we had. We had the most incredible first experience. There wasn't a moment where there wasn't a moment in that studio where everything wasn't encouraged. There was nothing like, no, you shouldn't do it like that. Nothing. Those words were never spoken. It was always an atmosphere of encouragement and teaching all the time. He was so thrilled to be able to teach all of us everything that we were doing, and we you know, it was just pouring out of us. All of us had waited so long to do this, and he was the perfect foil. And what he did is he realized in Spider that his main gift was production, and obviously he was a brilliant guitar player, but Spider's heart wasn't there. I mean, he loves playing, but his heart was in production, and he was just a boy. He was 23 years old, and Peter saw that, and Peter went to task to stand there and teach him everything he knew, not concentrating on guitar playing. Okay, let's get in there, let's get the part. No, he taught him everything, cutting tape, how to do everything, and what, you know, and Spider already had so much natural talent, and it was beautiful to watch. And for me, it laid the bed for me to just go. You know, it let me fly because everything was covered. I didn't have to worry about some egotistical, hands, you know, I grew up with a lot of Italians. Egotistical guitar player that, you know, was gonna, you know, trample the vocal. You know, I didn't have to do that. I mean, everyone was so conscientious musically, and it was just a musical experience. So everyone laid this beautiful bed. We all worked together on arrangements. Everything, it could have been a more perfect first time, which is why the second record was so difficult. But that's what happens. So sometimes, you know, you've just gotta just let it go. It may take you to places you never dreamed you were going to go.
But you got to know what you want.
No, you have to. I mean, you totally
You
have
need
to
to
know,
know.
but you have to let it go. You have to just, I mean, not if it's against what you feel, but if it's not against what you feel and it's going to push you into places that you never even thought about, don't be afraid. Go.
Yeah, I never wanted to be a great guitar player. I wanted to be a guitar player good enough to be able to make great songs and great records. Piano, I didn't want to be, well, the piano a little more because I love Art Tatum and Bud Powell and McCoy Tyner. I love all jazz piano. So a little different. I wanted to be a little more of a piano virtuoso. That I really dug in more than guitar. And drums, I wanted to be a swing drummer. I love Joe Jones.
He's a great drummer.
I love swing. I just love it so much. But I only cared about the song. Only the song, the production, the vocal. That's the only thing I always cared about. And that's what led me to be able to work with other people too, because you know, I've been really fortunate to work with great singers too, and you know, the best. And then John Waite, who's a phenomenal singer. You know, just great. I've been blessed to be around so many great players. It makes the job a lot easier. It's easy, actually. It's easy. Yeah, when you got that around, yeah.
You're still doing your job. You guys told me you're working on new material. You know, you're going on tour next month. Tell me about what's the material like? When might we get to hear it?
We got a whole mess of pretty cool stuff going on. We're doing some orchestra work. We're doing the songs that you know already. We're going to use them with an orchestra, but we're going to we're going to drift them apart a little bit from the original versions, make them a little more different, put a little different spin on them. So we're doing a record like that. There's also a Christmas record I'm doing, holiday record, of all original songs. It's not a Frosty the Snowman record, not that there's anything wrong with that. But I love the holidays, and I love when people are happy, and I love the end of the year, because when it's New Year's, everybody's ready for this new life, and everybody's excited. They want to pop a cork. They don't have to drink, but just pop a cork and feel good. I'm going to change my life New Year's Day. I'm going to be a different person. All the things are going to go away that are bad. That's the way I like that. That's a great idea. So these songs all encompass the fact of what happens to your life during that period of the winter, when winter starts. And darkness comes in sometimes, happiness comes in, people break up, sometimes people join back together again. So the songs are all original and they all represent that thing. So far, John Waite's involved in it, certainly Patricia, and I'm going after all kinds of different artists and people. So it's going to be diverse. Maybe I'll see if I can get Taylor Swift to do a song with the Dirty Dozen backup band. That kind of thing. So really twist it up a lot. Try to think. So when you see a person's name next to the song, you think, oh, it's going to be that. And you listen and you go, wow, what is that? So that, you know, that's one thing we're doing too. What else can we talk about? We got a lot of stuff.
You guys have some books you're working on, right? And while they're talking about books, you guys can start lining up if you have a question for Pat or Neil, and we'll take some questions here in a minute.
We're just always working. I mean, we tour a lot. You know, we're doing, you know, we did like 90 shows last year. We're probably doing like 70 shows this year, 75 shows. So we tour a lot. You know, I'm not that willing to go into the studio. I told you last night when we were speaking, you know, I'm a little bit cranky. So I'm just not that willing to go in the studio right now. So, you know, he's working on all his projects, and, you know, I have my own things that I'm doing.
The usual idea, it goes like this. Patricia, I got this great idea. Not now. Patricia, how about no? What about no?
That's because he comes at 7 o'clock in the morning with the guitar strapped on, and I haven't even had coffee, and I'm just like, yo, dude, like, back up, like, so, it's a little early, you know, so.
It's never too early.
I'm raising kids, so I got 2 kids kill me, and, you know, so I'm busy. I got, you know.
What kind of music did you guys have playing around the house as your kids were growing up? Did you try to give them at least get it in their ears to give them a chance to?
Yeah, but it's not what you think.
Well, just tell us a little
No,
bit.
it's all Italian, like opera, Pavarotti, and everything. The kids are, everybody, the kids come over on Sunday for dinner, and if it's not playing, they're like, Mom, where is it? Why, Marty?
We got Count Basie. Oh.
Dean Martin. I mean, it's everything, Louis Prima. It's not anything you think. Count Basie.
Oh, yeah, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Took everything to do. Greatest of all.
So you guys know I write about how technology affects entertainment. How has technology affected, like when you create music, when you perform music, how does it change your lives? Running your own business?
Yeah, well, the technology in recording specifically, I mean, it's nice to have a net to fall into in case you're walking that tightrope and you fall off. It's nice to have that. Pro Tools gives you that. The digital mediums give you that. But sometimes not having that net there makes you a little more fearless, a little more, it's more of an adventure, it's more exciting.
This is where I come in. I make sure we have the net.
Yeah, she likes the net. I like the more fearless approach, in trying to capture a moment. I think digital stuff, I think the technology, it makes it easier, at the same time could make it harder because you don't go with your initial idea. If you have a strong enough idea and you're making a song or you're making a movie, whatever, you've got to really know if it's good or bad. If you don't know if it's good or bad, you're going to have 40,000 takes in Pro Tools. Your hard drive is going to crash because you got so many things to listen to. You'll be so tired of it by the time the record comes out, it won't even resemble the same thing. I am guilty of that. I've done it as well. I did it when it was in the analog world. I went too far and ended up taking things off and go, well, holy cow, this is what the song really should be. So I think there's a blessing and a curse to it. I think, I remember saying in 1980, I don't know, it was 88 or something, I says, if they ever can figure out how to not go to tape and go to some other medium to store information, then we're fucked. Because what that means is that you could take that and that's going to go everywhere, and there'll be no stopping what that does. And that's a scary thought, because tape, when you did tape, you only could do so many takes.
You burn the tape up.
You can start seeing through the tape, and you're going to lose what you did. It's going to be gone. So you had to have a certain amount of time. Here's an example of when technology works. Modern technology doesn't work. Jimi Hendrix going in the studio and doing Are You Experience record, and he's got to go in at 10 o'clock in the morning and be gone by 6 o'clock at night in the evening, and he's only allowed to be there for 1 week to cut that record. So the day before, he's planning out what he's going to play and what he's going to record. So he comes in there, 5:30 comes, Jimmy, either you have this part done or you're not going to get the record done. He does the part. It's brilliant because there's boundaries. Technology can really take away those boundaries, like that wall around Mexico. That's a joke. Sorry, watching too much of that.
But the truth is, I mean, it makes everything so much more accessible, and that's the part that I love. I mean, you can basically, there isn't anything you can't do, which is the part that I love. And I love how accessible it is and how you don't have to, you don't have to be, tethered to record companies or anything. You have the freedom to do whatever it is that you want. And you are in control, and that's the part that I like the best. And that, when we decided in 1990, what was it, 6, that we were going to leave our record label and go independent, it was a great day. I mean, that was the day that it was truly Independence Day, because from that moment on, there was no more, no one could tell you what to do anymore. You messed it up by yourself. If you were brilliant, you did that. No one could keep you from doing anything anymore. And you controlled in every way, how things were done, how music was made, when it was released, how you did it. It was perfect, and that is the beauty of it. But I have to say this, that old school rules still apply. So if you use technology for the beauty that it is, and the accessibility and the way that it can be used, but you still apply the old school rules, you're going to be safe. It will work. You have to always try to keep that in your head, because like Spider said, if you don't put in the old school rules that sometimes you have the tape, you've got to know when it is. You can do this till you're dead because it's limitless. You've got to know when to stop.
Yeah,
Those are the old school rules. So if you apply the old school rules in the new way, you will have it.
You know, there's a great line. If there's musicians out there, you've probably heard this thing. We used to say it, years and years ago. It said, "What is the first thing a producer says when he's in the studio?" I don't know. What do you think? That's dangerous because if you don't know what you want, and look at George Martin, 4 tracks. Come on, that's pure brilliance. But I got to tell you, YouTube is great. YouTube is great because you could record a song by yourself in your house and you could play it on YouTube. And if it's truly great and you really connect it, you will get all those views and you will get all those likes and you will get a record deal. They'll be finding you. They'll find you.
You don't even need a record deal. You just
They'll
put it
find
out there
you.
yourself.
And I love that. Or if you are a player and you will not want to listen, there's sometimes I can't even remember the stuff that I played on the record. I got to go on YouTube and watch somebody play it. I heard a guy play a solo to Precious Time play it better than me, and he didn't even do it the right way. His hands were so big, and I'm going, how does he do that? So I got to use 2 fingers, and I go like this. So I love that. I love YouTube. I think it's phenomenal.
What do you think about streaming music services?
I think it's good. I don't have a problem with it at all. I think it opens up a lot of. Yeah, she has a problem. I don't. I think it opens up a lot of avenues for more music, for more people to hear more things. And if you like this particular style of music, here's another band, here's another band. Oh, they're good too. Oh, I like this too. So I don't have a problem. I actually listened to some streaming stuff and I went out and actually bought it, because I liked it. And I thought, well, it's kind of interesting. Let me give it a listen. There's, in commerce, if you want to make money doing that, there's always a way. Stream, get it out there for free, have people listen to it, give them something on a different platform somewhere, something that they can't get streamed. That's how you do it. Give them a little bit of this, and then they'll pay for a little bit of that. And then they'll come back and listen to more, and then you'll discover more, and it's better that way. There'll be better music.
I completely disagree.
That's why we get along so much.
I completely disagree because my whole thing is that, besides being musicians, we're in business. This is your product. This is what you do. It is your thing. You made it. Coca-Cola would never dream of giving you free Coke. They wouldn't. They wouldn't expect it. They wouldn't expect that you would expect to get Coca-Cola for free. I think it's ridiculous. Songwriters make their living on selling songs.
But you attach something else to it. That's
I understand that.
But how do
I'm
you
just
know
saying I
about Coca-Cola if
completely-
you don't know it exists?
I understand
That's
that,
a problem.
I'm not saying that it has to be either or, but I think that there's a way to make it work for everybody. But the fact of the idea that because this is an intellectual property, that it has no value, that it doesn't need to be paid for is ridiculous.
Well, no, you're not paying for it. Exactly. See how we argue? See how we argue? Eventually, she's going to win, and I'm going to stop.
No, I don't have to win.
Oh.
I don't have to win. Time will tell.
There was a time we would play a board
I got
game.
nothing but time.
We'd be up in the mountains and we'd play a board game with the kids. If she was losing, she'd say, I'm done.
That's different.
Like Scrabble when I won.
You can't spell.
I can spell
You
great.
make words up.
No, those words are real.
I went to school.
I got some great words, man.
I'm a championship speller.
I won big the last time we played with the kids over.
Because you're making up crazy
No,
shit.
that's good
You
stuff.
are.
Those words were good.
He's
man.
finding dictionaries I never heard of.
No.
The Urban Dictionary does not. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure about that.
That's awesome. We have a question here. Tell us your name and what's your question?
Yeah, my name's Eric Clay Johnson. Pat, you are amazing. Neil, you are a wizard. I mean, I'm a massive fan of you as a producer and a guitarist. I was wondering if you could talk, maybe contrast how you cut the earlier records that seemed more like a live band and the more of a higher production things like Battlefield or Invincible. And then if you wouldn't mind, I heard from Tim Pierce that you cut everything with a Marshall and JBL speakers of combo, and if you wouldn't mind telling what that was.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Eric.
Oh, and by the way, it is fucking criminal. You're not in the rock and roll.
That's okay.
I mean, everyone
We got
should.
to this.
Right after that. That is insane to me.
Thank you, appreciate it. Very kind words, thank you, Eric. Okay, a couple things. Timmy Pierce, if you don't know who Timmy Pierce is, he's a great session guitar player. I gave him his very first gig, I don't know if you knew that, on the John Waite record. That was his first professional gig. I had him on that record. He's a great guitar player, phenomenal. But yes.
Who played on Change? Was that you or him?
No, that's him.
That's him.
Yeah, I only play on Mr. Wonderful at the end because John said, play some, make some records. So I just played the end solo. That's one thing. I did some keyboard stuff on there. It's true. Marshall 212 cabinet, that's all. The early days, what we did was drums and guitar went down at the same time. If the drummer screwed up, we're doing it again. If I screwed up, we do it again. The drums and guitar always live, recorded live. Jesse's Girl was done like that. Everything that we've done, even Battlefield was that's too long to get into that one, but that was my first day with the Lynn drum, and I came up with this crazy pattern. I go, that's kind of crazy. And I hit a wrong button and took an 8-bar phrase and made it a 6-bar phrase. And then I said, let's build a record around this. And everybody said I was crazy because you couldn't do that because the kick drum changed places. I said, I don't care. I think it feels great and we're going to leave it. But every time we did stuff, it was always from the beginning to the end. It wasn't overdone. Okay, let's punch in the verse. All right, let's punch in the third verse. That didn't happen. That's how it was from the very beginning. And for the most part, I try to do that even still today. Because I want if you don't know how to build a song, and you're just punching in choruses and verses, you're just going to get verses and choruses, a song naturally builds.
It's like Frankenstein.
And you got to be able to know what that is. And I got one other thing about production, and Bob Dylan said it phenomenal. He said sometimes drums can take the mystery out of the rhythm. And a lot of times in a specific song, we have a song called In These Times, where I tried to add drums to it, and every time I did, it lost the feel, it lost the effect of what the song was. So
I just think that if you keep the song as the main concern, you know, not even the vocal. I mean, trust me, I'm the person who gets to go last. So they've like been working and doing it, because of course I'm with them the entire time, but my final vocal, we've recorded every take that we do so that the vocals are kept in case we've gotten it in the very beginning. Like sometimes you get it on the first try, you know, so we keep everything. But I'm always the last one to go, and trust me that they are concentrating on the full song. No one's going in there concentrating on their part, and if you are, you have to go, because that's going to mess it up, because everybody else is on the same page. And he's always done it like that, and it seems to work for us well.
yeah, that's basically, he even promises, if you hear the little thing in the little count, that's me actually counting the band in live, because that's what we just do it live. I think there's a better feel that way.
When we did True Love, we literally cut it with everybody live, horn section, everything. So this was like a gigantic thing, and we did it really quickly. But I mean, we did like I Feel Lucky, which is, I don't know, God, I mean, how long is that song? We did it, and amazingly difficult horn parts on there, and if one guy screwed up, we did it again, all together.
Almost killed the trumpet player.
Yeah.
I remember the video, the live video, you would count the band back in after the long break, and I always thought that was so cool when I was watching that grow up.
That's because that's the way we did it live in the studio, live in the studio. Capture a moment. That's all you try to do.
That's it, truly.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Has the way you write songs changed over the years? Anything you do different?
I don't think so, because it's a lot of times since we're each other's muse, maybe I'll come up with a title and I'll come up with a few lines for a verse. I'll give it to Patricia, she'll start working on it. She'll give it back to me. I'll get a, you know, it all different ways, or I'll come up with a melody on piano, and we've done it so many different ways. And I don't think any of that's changed.
No, we basically do not write together though. We don't write in the same room. Like some people go in and write together. We don't do that. We give each other pieces. You know, sometimes he just gives me, you know, chord changes. Sometimes he gives me a title. Sometimes he gives me an actual verse. But and vice versa. But then we go away from each other and we write, and we come back together again, and then we see what we've got.
Yeah, the reason we don't do it together is this simple.
Because I'm mean.
No, you're not mean. It's I got this terrible ADD thing that goes on. So if I come up with an idea, I says, let's work on this. Okay, great. And she starts to scribble words, and maybe 2 minutes goes by. I go, wait, I got another idea. How about this song?
No,
and then she go, wait.
I can't do that.
Yeah, so that's why we can't do it.
Yeah, we can't do
Yeah,
that.
it's my
So
fault.
he's all over the place.
It's my fault.
It is your fault.
Completely my fault.
Of course.
When you guys started this, did you ever think you'd be going out in April on it'll be like your 38th year performing together, right? I mean, what's it like? I mean, what do you think when you go out there?
It's the same.
Well, I mean, we do want more wine, but
It's the same. You know, it's really crazy because obviously, listen, you've got a life. I mean, this is our job.
I mean, it is very much a part of our life, but it's basically our job. We have a life. So we have a life. And most of the time we're living our life. And then you go out and you're like, oh, that thing that we do, that's like really fun and everything. But you go out, but the minute that you're out there and the light comes on, it's like no time has passed at all. People say, how do you get out there and do the same songs every night? Because no time has passed. The same inspirational motivation that was in the beginning in 1979 is the same as it is when you walk out on stage, which is, we are grateful and blessed. And the ones that don't work, there are some songs that just, they don't work. You outgrew them. The lyrics are dumb. Maybe it was okay when you were 25, but now it's like, seriously, kill me. I just, treat me right. You want me to leave? You want me to sing? I'm like, oh,
make up your mind already.
make
What's
up
the
your
matter with
mind.
you?
It's like, I can't sing it. It's just like, I want to kill myself. It's like, so we don't do it. Some things don't work, but I say, when I sing Heartbreaker, I'll sing Heartbreaker till I'm dead. Because it works,
It's important for us too that, when you hear a song and it stamps a time period in your life. So every time you hear that song, you go, I remember that. Maybe it's an ex-girlfriend, which is a bad idea, but sometimes that happens. Ex-boyfriend or something, oh, geez, I have to hear that song. So, sometimes that happens. But I got to tell you, as artists doing the song, when we play it, I remember the day in the studio. I remember cutting the song. I remember every minute of it. And I sometimes don't remember how to play every part of it, but I remember being there. And it really feels great. I mean, I still do, we used to do If You Think You Know How to Love Me from the first record. And I still remember when we played this, I still remember being in the control room and watching Patricia. And she had her little book with her words on it. And she'd look up every time and I'd just say, how do you like that part? She'd just go,
that's
and
the
I just
beauty of
remember her
longevity.
face.
That is the one thing. I have to tell you, and obviously I'm a total advocate for marriage, etc. But the beauty of longevity is that you begin a story together, and only the two of you know the story in this intimate way. And if it gets to go for a really long time, if you're lucky, then you have all these wonderful memories. And it's not like being nostalgic, because both of us are very in the moment. Right now, in the now. I mean, we don't go back and listen to records, we don't go back and look at pictures, we don't do that. I mean, you're in the now, that's what happens. So when you're doing this and that memory comes into your head when you start the song, it's kind of like when you look at baby pictures. Nobody wants to be a baby, but you look at it and you remember what it's like to be young and that really wonderful feeling of whatever that was when you were a child, and whatever that was. That kind of thing is the same thing as what it's like to be able to play songs that you've played for so many years. I don't want to go back. I have no interest in that whatsoever. I'm perfectly content and so grateful to be the age I am, to have lived the life I have lived with all of the good and all of the bad, and there was plenty of that. But to be able to have that in your back pocket, all of those wonderful memories, and then to be able to share it is amazing.
I still think that somewhere down the line, some of the best songs that are ever going to write, we haven't written yet. They're ahead of us. I mean, every day I wake up, I'm still thinking, you know what? There's still going to be some great songs coming out. I'm excited every time I wake up. I am. The thing that happens when we go to the studio, if I go in a situation, if I want to start writing, I've learned this a long time ago. Don't go in trying to write Let It Be, because you're going to come out with nothing that's even close to that. You go in with the thought of, I'm just going to write what's on my mind, how I feel, whatever, just let the conduit open and write it. But I'm telling you, some of the best work, whether it's in film or movies, because I am jumping into the movie world soon, there's things that are going to be, that they open such a big world to me. I can't stop. I know we both can't stop. And I just think it's, for all of you, that you said some beautiful words about us. Thank you very much, Eric. That, you like the music, you love the music, you've heard the music for a long time. It's a part of you. It's a part of us too, but it's a different part of us. We're happy that you still like it, you still listen, and you're still enjoying it. We appreciate that more than you know, and that keeps us being able to still wish for that next day to come. Wish for that next song to be written. Wish for that next day.
You're not making music in a vacuum. It's about conversation, especially for me. I'm in front. I'm looking in your faces. I'm singing words to you. I'm having a conversation with you. Those are words that we've written together. But the truth is, when I'm singing to you, I'm having a conversation. It is the seductive part of what we do. That's the part. I mean, you're traveling. We're old. Like Jesus. I mean, how long? I can't be on this bus anymore. I'm going to kill myself. But the truth is, the seduction of doing it isn't about, all of those things that maybe you thought it was going to be about when you were young, about being famous. Truthfully, I'd rather die than be famous, honest to God. I mean, it comes with so many things that are just so unpleasant, but the most important part is the communication. And whether you do that, whether you write books, whether you make film, whether you make music, whether you paint paintings and take photographs, it's the communication. That is what makes you do it every day. It is why you get up every day. It is why you go on stage every day when you don't feel well, or terrible things are happening in your family, or whatever it is. The communication is so important, and it's like breathing. It is the most important component of what you do. So that is the seductive part. It's what keeps you out there. It's what makes you wake up in the morning. You have something that you want to share with somebody else that you've never met. That's the point. And you know that they're going to give you something back that you never thought about. When I sing lyrics, one of my favorite things is when we have a new song, and we've done it and done it and done it, and we're recording it, and we know like the parts that move us and how it affects us. The very first time that we sing it in front of a live audience, my very favorite thing that happens is I want to see if the same parts that moved me move you. Now I have to tell you that 90% of the time, it's exactly the same. But every once in a while, 10% of the time, you all will respond to something that never occurred to me. And I have to tell you that this is a remarkably fun part. This is the part that you just go, ah, that means that you are telling me something. And that's the part that keeps me going. It's why I write songs. That's the part that I love.
Well, we appreciate you guys having this conversation with us today. I'm sure everyone had a great time. Thanks for being patient and hanging in there. Give them a hand.